First Love. I finally finished it. Mind you, I started this drama back in August. The beginning of August, I started this drama. And it's taken me up until literally like last week. I finished it. Mind you, I also watched Love Now, which was 72 episodes. And I finished that in a week and a half. Let's just get into the review. Okay, so let's start off with the things I liked about this drama. So onto the things that I didn't like. First off, the immediate first thing that I thought when I started the drama and I heard the theme song was, this theme song is very boring to listen to. And that's the immediate first reaction I had to the show. Mind you, I started actually 2 dramas, both of which feature actors that I actually have watched before, and First Love was a drama that I watched that I didn't know any of the actors in it, but it still looked interesting. Mind you, one of the ones that I watched, the actor, and I've watched 3 other works by him, 2 of which I liked, and I watched those first, and then I watched another drama and I did not like that one, even though it still featured the same actor. So this is not like a bias, it's just that this drama was so boring. Like everything from the opening was boring. Play a clip of the opening right now so you guys can hear what is the basically your intro into this world. It starts off already like 8 years after the main female character, after she leaves her daughter with her two best friends who are both in love with her, or were in high school. That's where it starts off, and then we get a little peek into her daughter's mind, and that she, wishes she had a mother. And then you get to see the dynamic of the one, the main actor, the one who ends up with her at the end. He doesn't trust her now, and he's mad that she's back without warning, and she won't tell them why she left, which, in my opinion, I think that was very sloppy, because it seems like they didn't know what to write that she left for. So they just didn't tell us until literally the final few episodes. I'm not kidding. And then you have the secondary male lead, who is still very much madly in love with her. You have him being like, oh, I'm kind of upset that you left, but you're back now, that's all that matters. He's her biggest cheerleader. But then, like a few episodes later, it goes into a flashback of them in college, and those were arguably the most interesting aspects of the whole series, which I don't understand why they didn't start off with them already in college and then go into the time skip of 8 years later she comes back. That would have been a lot better for not only the drama, but the plot and everything. It would have been a lot better, because that's the part that's interesting. That's the stuff where you get character conflicts and you get them arguing and growing on each other and learning how they fell in love with each other and getting to see their dynamic, which you don't get after the time skip because they're so boring. Like, they don't argue hardly ever. There's no conflict. There's no character growth. There's no development. There's nothing. But like, they start off with the boring stuff, insert the college days, which are the most interesting stuff, and then go back to the boring stuff, which is after the time skip. Which, if you're gonna do boring stuff, do it after you do the interesting stuff, because the interesting stuff is what's gonna draw people in. Because I swear, if it was anybody else after the first episode, I probably would have dropped it. I'm not kidding. I wanted to drop it. Like, that's why it's taken me basically like a month and a half to finish this drama, because I would start watching it and then it'd be like get through half of it, not even half the episode if I'm being completely honest, but like get through half the episode, get bored, go do something else, watch some YouTube videos, and then like 3 days later be like, oh yeah, I have to finish this drama, and then go back to it and just be like bored, like pausing every 5 minutes to go do something else that's more interesting, or not even more interesting, just something that's not watching this drama. One of my biggest gripes is that, I mean, spoiler alert, but I'm not recommending this drama to anybody at all. But literally in the last like 4 episodes, we find out that the main girl, the main actress, she is not actually Mao Miao, who is the daughter. She is not actually her mother, but she is her aunt, who took in her niece after her sister died. We don't find this out until literally the last few episodes, and I'm stuck wondering why. Because we find out in the beginning that, you know, they were in college, they had spring break, she went back home for spring break, which was only 2 months, and then she came back and she had a baby. Both her roommates, who are the main and secondary love interests, they both remarked, you know, how could you have a baby? Spring break was only literally 2 months, is not possible. And she just doesn't answer them. Again, more sloppy writing, because it seems like they didn't know how to answer that until literally the end, and they were like, oh wait, we have this glaring plot point that we need to clear up. They were like, oh, you know what, it's her niece. But even if the main characters didn't know, it still would have been better for us, the audience, to know, so that we could have like a kind of standpoint as to why she's being so secretive, why she's being so quiet about everything, how she had a daughter during 2 months, who's the father. We still never find that out. I, for the longest time, was guessing that it was the third love interest. I was guessing that it was him. They had like some crazy drunk night and slept together, and he knocked her up, and that's why he was so adamant about being with her. Yeah, no, that wasn't it. Which I think that would have been far more interesting than what we got, which was, and we still don't know who the father is. Quite honestly, I was expecting a lot of touching on LGBT issues, with the fact that Mao Mao had 2 fathers and no mother, gossiping about their family dynamic and the fact that she has 2 fathers and they're probably together and they somehow had a daughter. And you know, I was expecting that, but we really didn't get a lot of that. We got a lot of Mao Mao being bullied for having 2 fathers and no mother, but it was more like, you know, you don't have a mother, so you know your family's weird, as opposed to being because of the gay stereotype, to finding out that Mao Mao is actually the main female's niece. That doesn't happen until episode 37. Mind you, the drama is 40 episodes. And we should have found that out in the beginning. Like, it should have, you know, after the school days, insert a clip of her going to see her sister, because her sibling's sick, see some clips of her, you know, being there for her sister every day, going and checking on her, talking to her. Because the sister literally came out of nowhere. Like, I didn't know that she had a sister. I knew she had some problems with her father, which I also kind of wondered if he was the father and that was why they had issues, so it wouldn't have been out of the norm. Like in Innocent Love, I think it was. I talked about this in my least favorite dramas video. She literally gets a sister who's chronically ill out of nowhere. Another thing, we should have found out that she initially left because she had cancer. We should have found that out in the beginning, because from the episodes that we did get in the beginning, it made it seem like, you know, she had this daughter and she was going to leave school in order to take care of her daughter. And then her two friends were like, no, you need to further your education because you're, you know, too good to just drop out. And then so she goes to the States to further her education, but now all of a sudden she left because she had cancer and she needs to get treatment, which is contrary to what we know. Thing I would like to point out is that we find out that the main character has cancer, and the emotional scene behind that is very much just bland and boring, and I found myself just not caring, as opposed to in Love Now, when we find out that the main character has cancer. Like, that is a very emotional scene. I'll put it side by side right here.
回来了。
你不是很晚回来吗？
医生说，只要我乖乖接受治疗，治愈率其实很高的。
那个，
我只是初期。
我跟他在弄堂口碰到，然后我就把他送过来。
你们是不是有什么事瞒着我？
没事的，虽然在治疗的过程中可能会有一点点痛苦，但是只要你在我身边，
是我不让
只要有你在，我一定会很坚强。
医生说了，还有6个月。
Love Now, first love. And you can compare for yourself which one has a more emotionally moving scene just from a few minutes. And she never tells the guys until literally months after she's been back. She doesn't tell them that Mao Mao is actually her niece and not her daughter. Which they've been watching her for 8 years at this point, and you never thought to tell them that she was not your actual daughter. The third love interest, yeah, he's a creep. So I'm just gonna refer to him as Mr. Creep. So first off, he's basically befriended her because he wants to be with her, and everything he does is basically to show her that he is in love with her and wants to be with her. In fact, he even states at one point, like, do you think I act like this because we're friends? When she rejects him, keep this in mind, she rejects him like halfway through the series. He brings up the point that he's in love with her and wants to be with her, and she rejects him. Towards the end again, they're having dinner because, you know, they're still friends. And they're having dinner, and he proposes to her. And then as she's, you know, telling him, you know, she doesn't like him like that. They're only friends. She sees him as a brother. And he's over here like, no, but we're meant to be together. I'm the closest man to you. And she outright admits that she's in love with the main love interest. She outright admits that. And then after she does that, he's just like, oh no, but I was joking. Look, it's a fake ring and everything. It's, you know, don't take it so seriously. And I'm just like, that's not funny. Was that supposed to be funny? Because it wasn't funny. And then after she leaves, turns out, nah, he had a real ring and was really prepared to propose to her and have her accept it. After she already rejected him. Like, keep in mind, they're not dating. They're not together in any way, shape, or form. She doesn't want him. She's already rejected him. And he thought that she would accept his proposal. Why? Suffice it to say, he is my least favorite character. So, each episode is like 50-ish minutes long. The scenes are so very drawn out. Like, it will be like something happens, and then nothing will happen for like a minute in between, except for going in between different shots and angles of whatever character was in the previous scene, and just boring music over it. And literally it's like 30 to 60 seconds of nothing in between scenes where stuff is actually happening. It's so drawn out and boring. Like, each episode could have at least been 23 minutes max. And if you really needed the drama to be 40 minutes each episode, combine the stuff that was happening in each episode, cut out all the drawn out scenes, you would have 40-minute episodes, and then the drama would probably max out at about 20 episodes, 20 or 25 episodes. I don't know why they decided to make it 40 episodes. It didn't need to be that long. The entire middle of the drama is focused on business, which nobody wants to sit and hear about business things. Nobody wants to watch that. And a lot of the love situations are not even either addressed or clarified. Okay, so we have the beta male who's in love with the main girl, who is in love with the main guy, who is also in love with the main girl, but then she has these two. She has Mr. Creep, and then the beta male has actually two different love interests who like him, one of which confessed, and then he rejected her. And then on the other side, we also have our main male who has a female love interest on the side. She never confesses her feelings for him, and it never gets addressed. I don't think the two ever actually the two main people, I don't think they ever actually formally confessed that they liked each other. He basically said that he should have gone to the States and looked harder for her and brought her back. And then after that, they're just suddenly together. I mean, okay, but I feel like she should have had some input, like something to say about that. I don't, call me crazy, but I think it takes two people to start a relationship. Crazy notion. Secondary love interest writes a letter to confess to the main female lead, which she does not read. She takes it and gives it back to him and says that I can't even read this because I can't see you as anything more than my best friend. He accepts that graciously. His side love interest, she confesses to him, he rejects her. They're still kind of friends until she finds his watch engraved with her name. And so she kind of backs off, and then he finds out why she backs off and isn't really being friends with him anymore. Goes to clarify it. They spend like 5 to 10 minutes on this, on him like waiting for her, trying to reconcile this misunderstanding. And then when he finally gets in contact with her, he tries to clarify it, but he can't get any words out because she's just like, you know what, just forget it. I don't need you to clarify anything. And it just never gets resolved. I'm just like, so why did we spend so much time on that? The hypocrisy from the main female. She tells her main love interest, the main guy, she tells him that she can't just force herself to love the secondary love interest. Which is so cool and fine. It's fine. But then she learns that the secondary love interest, the girl who likes him, she finds out that he rejected her, but tells her not to give up on him because they have a good connection and care about each other. I'm just like, wasn't that exactly what you were fighting against with Mr. Crete and fighting against when main love interest was telling you to be with beta love interest? And concerning Mao Mao, who I obviously forgot, because the main plot actually doesn't include much of her in it. A lot of things happen concerning her two dads and her mom, and she is not present for any of those scenes. And then in passing, in like the next episode after everything's happened, they'll mention, you know, Mao Mao is staying over her friend's house for right now. Did y'all actively forget about her writing some of these major plot points that do affect her in the long run? It's really annoying when shows do that. I don't. If you're gonna have a show that includes a child, make sure to include that child. An example of this done right would be Love Myself or You, which up until like the last 2 or 3 episodes, he was actively a character in the show. Like, they always mentioned him. Either he was mentioned or he was in the show. Like, he was an actual character as opposed to a plot device. Main love interests, also, they don't actually get together until literally the last 2 episodes. They never really build chemistry together. They don't really interact much with each other, which is strange considering that they actually live together for 90% of the drama. You learn at the beginning that the main guy is like this girl magnet and everybody, wants to be with him because he's so hot. But then like when he's living with a woman, we don't get that kind of chemistry between them. The romance between them was not very well developed, and there was very little work put into developing it, by which I mean none. She has lymphoma, and then in literally the next scene, they are planning Mao Mao's birthday, and no one seemingly cares that she has cancer. Like, there's no moments where like the characters are looking at her as they're in the midst of talking about Mao Mao and her birthday, and being all happy, where they look at her and like the scene kind of tones down and you see them being like sad for what's to come. No, it goes from we're all sad about finding out the main girl has cancer to, oh, now we're all happy and getting along and everything's great, and and it's just like consistency. Can you spell consistency? Apparently not. The characters find out that the main girl has cancer, and so instead of having them actually in the same room talking about it, being upset about it, talking to each other, in the same room, we get, after the main love interest finds out that she has cancer, he's just sitting there looking like forlorn. And then it cuts to scenes of them all separated, looking forlorn. The main girl is crying, and then a voiceover of her talking about the situation. And it takes you out of the experience. We should be in their heads. We should be in the drama with them and feeling these emotions instead of feeling it secondhand through a narration, and some sad music playing over some shots of them looking sad and forlorn. That's not how I experience emotions. Camera work was horrible. It was very shaky, especially in like scenes where all you're doing is shooting a character sitting, not moving. They're just sitting there and the camera is still very shaky. The main couple being together, they were literally together for like one episode and holding hands, and then the next episode it went back to the status quo. For a drama called First Love, this drama had absolutely nothing to do with first loves. It's never acknowledged that this was the first time that either of them had fallen in love. It was never acknowledged how they felt about each other previously to them moving in together, and they never talk about their feelings developing again as they do live together. Yeah, we can kind of guess that they fell in love in college, but the main characters don't acknowledge it or talk about it, so it doesn't count. Yes, we the audience know, but the characters need to acknowledge it and know about it. If I could, I would give it like a -5 out of 10. Anyway, I would say skip it. And if you're looking for something similar, I would watch Love Now or watch Someone Like You. Both are ultimately better. I think that's it. So,